First of all, we find either our parallel bar or a T-square.
Yes. You want a longer T-square?
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm good.
We're probably good. Okay. Because my T-square is short, this one, we're gonna make sure that the paper is lined up
I have a
with
longer
it. It's all right, it's all right. I'm gonna teach it. Okay. What you wanna do is make sure that, again, your paper is parallel. Once you do it, remember it rolls this way, so we are gonna make sure to tape it.
yeah.
Yep, we flipped it. We're gonna tape it down. We're gonna go across the whole thing, make sure it's very taut. We're gonna tape it down. Then we're gonna do the same thing on this side, right? We're gonna tape them down. Do you see how I had the tape ready, or the dots in your case ready?
And you call that batching?
No,
Oh.
what I call batching, okay. Batching is when you do things, the same activity together. So like if you have to do math, then draw a line, then do, shorten a line, do all the math together, then draw all the lines together, then shorten them. Do you see what I'm saying? That's
got it.
batching. Okay, so we have our paper down. Now we need to figure out the size of our space so that we can draw the rectangle box for the floor plan. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find the right scale. I told you guys to use half an inch. Very good, good answers. Half an inch equals a foot. So the first line, since we're gonna do the longest, is 24. Is that correct?
It's supposed to be 25 on the outside.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
So I thought that's why
That's
I
an
asked
A.
you.
That's an
Okay.
A. So the first one we should do is 25.
Right.
Very good. And I answered that to you.
Okay.
So now, if we look at here, since it's a smaller scale, we're going to count every single line. So if we're counting the smaller one, do you see how it only goes to 20? So we're going to do a 20. We're going to do a longer line, and then we're going to add 5 feet to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we have to draw a line that's longer than this.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line.
Okay.
Do you follow what I'm saying? I'm not gonna measure it. I'm just gonna draw a line.
Okay.
And because then we're gonna use our metal things to erase it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, our little, okay, so, and watch, 45 degree, and you move the entire hand across the entire,
Okay.
that's our line. Now what we can do is take our half an inch, put it on a 0, we mark it off. We're gonna say that's our 0, okay? You see that right there? You get it in. There's our, okay, we're gonna find our, what?
20.
I'm sorry, the 0, I'm
Are you on
actually.
the wrong scale?
Yeah, I'm on the wrong side of the scale. Let me go back, because we start 0 here, okay. So there's our 0, okay? Then we're gonna go from 0 to 20. Does that make sense? And then we're gonna add 5 to it.
From 0.
Okay, and in this case, 5 is actually an 8, right? Do you see that? Because
Because
it's,
it's in between.
Very good. Very good.
Even numbers.
okay, so there's our start, there's our end of 25. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, we also know that our wall is gonna be 6 inches, right? So now what we need to do is measure this
what I
way,
need to-
right?
that's what-
So we're gonna put, again, we're gonna put our triangle under our dominant hand. So for those of you who are left-handed, you're gonna do that. And you're gonna, yeah, you're gonna put your, you see what I'm saying? Where I'm gonna put my triangle this way because I don't wanna go across and smear my lines. Does that make sense? So whichever way you guys do it. So in here, we're gonna, again, we're gonna put it, you see how my hand is always making sure this is staying put so that, right? So it doesn't move, okay? And then we're gonna put it here. We're gonna adjust our line to that. And then I'm gonna just draw up because I'm not gonna measure. I'm gonna do the same thing I did this direction. I'm just gonna draw a long line. Does that make sense? We'll measure later.
Okay.
Okay, everybody so far with me? Okay, so all we're gonna do is we're gonna go long, and we might even wanna go longer, and if that's the case, we adjust, we put it on, and there's our line, up. So now we have a line this way, and that's 25, and now we have a line going up. What is the distance that we need to go this direction?
18.
18, because why?
It's the extra inch for the thickness.
Extra foot For 6
foot
inches and
for
6
the-
inches,
yeah, for
right.
the wall.
So now we're gonna again make sure that we're on the right scale, because she's videotaping me, so we're gonna put it on 0, which is 0 right here, right? We're gonna go 0, and we know we only have to go to 18, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to, that's our 20, and there's our 18. Do you see that? So we're gonna mark it right there. So we know now that that's our box. So what I'm gonna do up, right? And I'm
Thank
gonna
God for
match
connected
this. Do you guys see that? And I'm gonna go across the entire thing. And there's our box. And now we're gonna do the same thing here. Does that make sense? Again, do you see how I'm constantly making sure that this stays put? Then I'm gonna drive this to it. We wanna make sure this stays put so that we're getting really good 90 degrees. And we're gonna go up. And then because this is short, this is why sometimes longer, and we're gonna wanna make sure that we're on the, we move the tool to the pencil. And there's our line. So there's our big box. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now what we need is a 6-inch perimeter, right?
Yes.
On
That's what
a
I
half,
wanted.
right? Because the 6-inch in real life is gonna be much smaller here, right? So again, we wanna make sure we're on the right scale. And now we're looking from 0 in the opposite direction, and there's our 6 inches. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what we're gonna do is I can mark it off. If our things are offline, we can mark it even offline. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure I'm on the right scale. I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna put it on 6 inches. Do you see that? There's our 6. Right there, because it's halfway. I'm gonna put a 0 here. And I'm gonna, this is the batching part. You go across and you do 6 inches on that side. Does that also make sense? So we're gonna come here and let me make sure I'm on 6 inches. Okay. There's our 6 inches there.
So 6 inches is that little halfway mark between
Yes,
the 0 and the
yes,
longer line.
yes, because again, let me explain that, okay? So 0 going forward, can you mute them so that we don't record it? Thank you. Okay, so 0, and because this is a smaller scale than that, we know because it's half, we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But and that's feet. But if we need inches, we cannot go because we don't see the little inches here. So the inches still start with 0, and it always, this end always is a foot. So if this is 0, that means it's 12. Halfway is 6. Does that make sense? That's why we marked it 6 here and 6 here. But I'm also gonna batch it and mark, I wanna make sure you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 6 on here as well. So I'm gonna go again, that half direction, and I'm gonna put a little mark. Do you see that? And then I'm gonna go up here and do the same thing. So if I do it up here, and you don't actually need this, but offline, right? And you go 6. Do you see that? Again, if we have it, right, you can get closer. There's our 6 right there. Everybody see how I found 6 inches? 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. Do you see that?
Okay, what'd you do? I'm sorry, I'm.
Okay,
I
so-
timed Brianna in.
Again, we're looking at the half-inch scale. We went and found feet this way. Everybody got that. And then what we're doing now is we needed 6 inches, so we're going back to 0 in the opposite direction. Since 0, that's 12. Halfway is 6. That's what I found, and I marked it offline on all of them. And then what I'm gonna do now is draw the second box.
Okay.
But my second box is already measured inside the big box. You can either go small box and then measure 6 inches out, or you can measure 6 inches in and see how we measured 6 inches in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what I'm gonna do now is, again, I'm gonna make sure this is staying put so that it's not getting wonky. I'm gonna put it down, and again, if we had a longer, it'd be easier, but it's okay, we adjust. And what I do is see how I line up my pencil on the off, and then I just draw a line. And then I move it up, and I make sure that I line back up with it. So that's the key. And then I finish it. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, we do the same thing here because this is the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Did you you just put the pencil back on the line and then push the
You want to
that's it.
move your tools to your pencil. Yes,
Okay,
correct.
that's what
Yes,
that
that was a
means.
good question. So do you see how I'm too far off?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that I'm on that
Understand.
6-inch line. Do you see that?
Okay.
Okay, so we got it there, and then I'm gonna go all the way, and then again, I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna line it back up till I get it in the right place. Okay, let me make sure I'm in the right place, okay? And then what we're gonna do is go all the way up. And I don't mind overlapping. The reason I don't mind is because our lines are taut, and then we're gonna erase that.
Right.
Because we have eraser shield and we have erasers. Does that make sense? Now, we don't need our triangle when we're going this direction. So all we have to do is line this up. Do you see how, again, I
with
wanna
your
make
lines,
sure,
yes, with your dot.
right, with my dot. I wanna make sure, okay? So I'm gonna line it up. And it'll be easier because, okay, it'll be easier because why? Because do you see how here I can go all the way across? And do you see how I'm rotating my, you don't need to really with a mechanical, but if you're using non-mechanical, you need to rotate because otherwise it's gonna get thicker, right? So there's our, that one. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna line it up, bring my tool to it, and then there's my other line. Those are my two boxes. And that, I know whoever showed me the first one, your 6 inches were bad.
Yeah, mine was.
So,
I
so
started-
what,
yeah.
so I'm gonna leave this for
done it.
you guys, and this will be your
Template.
template. And because they're see-through, because they're trace paper, you can just put it over, and if you get it right, you know it, and if you don't, back to the drawing board.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Since we are here, instead of me doing it on the board, I'm gonna do it on paper. So, so this is our floor plan. Let's now talk about how we put furniture on the floor plan. So you guys are doing a bedroom. So because you're doing a bedroom, let's put a bed in here, right? So whatever the size of the bed. So if what size are you guys selecting for your bedroom, for this bedroom?